Demon Souls, Dark Souls, games that created a whole new genre in the video game sphere. FromSoft are masters at their craft when it comes to level design and world building and have consistently one-upped themselves almost every time. Sekiro is definitely high up on my list, and obviously at the top is none other than Bloodborne. Now, for a lot of people, their answer may be Elden Ring, and that's fair, but Elden Ring almost feels like an expanded version of what FromSoft did before with tight, compact level design, which I feel hasn't been topped since Bloodborne. Now, many developers looked at this type of genre video game that FromSoft created and asked themselves, why can't we get a piece of that pie? And so fans coined these games with a name, Soulslike. A Soulslike is a subgenre of, action role-playing games known for high levels of difficulty and an emphasis on environmental storytelling, typically in a dark fantasy setting. The Souls-like name has been adopted by a number of critics and developers. However, there have also been questions whether it is a true genre or just a collection of shared mechanics. While the description is typically applied to action role-playing games, the core concepts of high difficulty, repeated character death, driving, your knowledge of what's going on forward, and, mastering the controls and the world of the game, the sparsity of save points and giving information to you through indirect environmental storytelling are sometimes seen in games in very different genres, the mechanics of which are sometimes described as Souls-like. Now, many Souls-like games include the concept of what FromSoft did, a bonfire, which acts as a checkpoint, introduced in Dark Souls and essentially acts as your checkpoint for when you die and you want to continue on. Activating a bonfire sets it as a respawn point, and they can be used to restore health and magic as well as remove status effects. But resetting these also revives most of the enemies in the game world. They can also be used to sometimes level up, perform actions such as repairing weapons. You can use them to fast travel to other bonfires you discovered in the world. Many also consider this type of game, made by any other developer other than FromSoft, a Souls-like, and only FromSoft themselves can create a true Souls game. Now that we've got that history lesson out of the way, let's speed run through some examples of developers dipping their toes into the genre. We had Lords of the Fallen, the original, back in 2014. Not too bad for one of the first Souls-likes, but nothing too special. Neo, back in 2017. Now this is technically a Souls-like, but instead of an interconnected world with unlockable shortcuts, you essentially have levels you play through or replay to get better loot. It's more of an action RPG with Souls-like elements. The Surge also came out the same year. The gameplay involves using an exoskeleton to battle enemies, and it can be customized through the game using modular upgrades, where you can target different body parts of enemies as well as utilize finishing moves. All in all, not too bad of a Souls-like either. Code Vein in 2019 was an anime Souls-like, although much easier as you would have an AI companion always around to help you out. That same year, in 2019, we also had Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a game I absolutely love, and one of the best Star Wars games in years. Now, this isn't just a Souls-like game, it's also a Metroidvania game. So if you enjoy both of those aspects, and Star Wars on top of that, I highly recommend it and its sequel, Jedi Survivor. In 2020, we had Mortal Shell from a relatively unknown developer, and kind of a short game all around, but the concept of using different shells for different playstyles was very fun. Not too bad considering the small team and budget. I'm definitely missing a lot that lean into a Souls-like genre, like Remnant from the Ashes, Steel Rising, and so on and so on. But I want to get to the meat of this video. I want to talk about a Souls-like game that is so good, most fans consider it an actual Souls game. So good that people wouldn't think twice if someone told them that FromSoft made it. So good, some consider it as close to a Bloodborne sequel we might ever get. I'm obviously talking about Lies of P. Developed by Neowitz Games and Round 8 Studio based in South Korea. From what I can tell, this is like their first big AAA game, and to me they hit like a grand slam. Inspired by Carlo Collodi's novel The Adventures of Pinocchio, Liza P tells the story of Pinocchio, a special puppet who differs from other puppets in his ability to lie, which plays a role during important story decisions. Puppets, robotic automatons designed for labor and security tasks, were invented in the city of Krat thanks to the discovery of a revolutionary power source called Ergo. Foremost among these inventors is the legendary Geppetto, who creates Pinocchio. In order to ensure that puppets would not be a threat, they were bound to a grand covenant, a set of built-in directives which forbid them from, lying or attacking humans. Krat also suffers from the mysterious and incurable petrification disease, which blinds its victims before turning them into stone from the inside out. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and if you're going to imitate any game, it may as well be one almost universally considered one of the best ever made. They even threw a little Sekiro in there with a fun learning curve with its parry system. Now, one of the pillars of a Souls-style game is a somewhat ambiguous story, mostly told via environmental clues and collectible notes, which honestly is kind of one of my least favorite things from FromSoft games. But Liza P opts for a more traditional plot format, and that makes for a central narrative that I found significantly more engaging than the ones presented in other Souls-like games or even from FromSoft themselves. There's still tons of lore to discover and amazing environmental storytelling around every corner, but the narrative is more pronounced rather than nuanced. Now, like Bloodborne, the combat rewards you for attacking fast and being aggressive. Like we're in Bloodborne where you take a hit, instead of dodging away, you continue the assault to potentially earn your lost health back. There are some new and interesting mechanics that you can use that makes you feel fresh and fun. Weapon assembly is good, but doesn't offer the build diversity of like Elden Ring. But you are still given plenty of ways to customize your weapons suited, for how you want to attack. The game's most novel system comes, when you can take these weapons and disassemble them into parts, or and then mash them together to create new combinations. There's also the grinder and durability, cubes and the gold tree, and especially the game's handling of magic through the use of Legion arms. These are just some of the few cool additions and tweaks that makes gameplay unlike some other Souls-like games. The brutal difficulty is there, and defeating bosses feels incredibly rewarding. Now, how can you talk about a Souls-like game without level design? This is arguably the most important part of any Souls game, and I feel Liza P does a damn good job at it. We have locations like San Frangelico Cathedral, the Rosa Isabel Street, the Estella Opera House, the Lorenzini Arcade, the Grand Expedition. There's just too many to list all here. And I don't want to turn this into a full-on review, but I just want to give my glowing recommendation for this game for any fan of Souls games or Souls-like games, but especially to Bloodborne fans and even Sekiro fans. We already have some exciting DLC on the way, and with the ending of this game teasing a foundation for an extended dark fantasy universe with the tease at the end. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents. Thanks for watching. It'd be nice to subscribe. If you leave a like and a comment, I really appreciate it. Anyways, talk to you next time.